It sounds cruel, but that was the truth of those times. The other slaves weren't so lucky. They were hanged without mercy. Realizing what could have happened to him, Solomon went straight to the market, bought the supplies, and returned to Epps' wife. He wanted to live, because the only thing keeping him going was the hope of one day seeing his family again. Years passed, and life under slavery dragged on. Day after day of suffering, abuse, and cruelty. But Patsy now being raped every night by Master Epps, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. One night, she came to Solomon, handed him a stolen ring belonging to the mistress, and said, "Keep this, but I need a favor in return." When Solomon asked what she meant, Patsy begged him to kill her, to take her to the fields and hold her underwater until she stopped breathing.
I would do no such thing.
She said, "If I can't buy my death, then please give it to me as a gift." Solomon was stunned. He replied, "I can't do that." But she pleaded again, saying she had nothing left to live for, no future, no hope. She couldn't endure this anymore. Still, Solomon refused, and Patsy walked away in silence. Meanwhile, for 2 years straight, the cotton crop failed, and Epps suffered heavy financial losses. Out of desperation, he sent all his slaves to work on a sugarcane plantation owned by a judge. There, Solomon got a chance to play the violin at a wedding and earned a little money. After some time, the slaves were sent back to Epps' farm, where the same brutal routine started again. Anyone who picked less than 100 pounds of cotton was whipped, and Solomon often fell short, so he was beaten regularly. Around this time, a new worker joined them. Not a black man, but a poor white man working for money. Yet even here, there was discrimination. When black slaves failed to meet the quota, they were whipped. But when the white man picked only 29 pounds, no punishment followed.
I'm sure in time we'll develop as a picker.
Since the white man worked alongside the slaves, he gradually became friendly with them. One day, Solomon approached him and asked for help. He explained that he wanted to write a letter and needed him to mail it. In return, Solomon offered money he had earned playing violin at a wedding. The white man agreed, took the money, and told Solomon to give him the letter in 2 days. It was a dangerous plan. If their master found out, both of them could be killed. But Solomon was desperate. A few nights later, Epps approached him, drunk and holding a knife. He said, "I heard one of my slaves can read and write." Solomon stayed calm and asked what he meant. Epps accused him of trying to give a letter to someone. Solomon denied it, saying the man was lying because he wanted to become a supervisor and was making up stories to win favor. Epps bought the excuse and replied, "I would have killed him, but he's one of us," and walked away. After he left, Solomon quietly burned the letter he had written with so much hope, his only chance to reach home, to prove he was a free man. As the paper turned to ash, so did his dreams and the last pieces of hope he was holding on to. Instead, he returned to the same brutal life, beaten, humiliated, and stripped of dignity. And now, he couldn't even trust anyone anymore. Time kept passing, and one day, Patsy suddenly disappeared. Epps panicked, thinking she had escaped, and searched everywhere. But after a while, she returned, which made him angry and suspicious. He asked where she had gone, and she said she was just in the fields, but Epps didn't believe her and started beating her. Solomon tried to step in, and Epps struck him too. That's when Patsy finally confessed the truth. She had gone to Master Shaw's nearby plantation because she had no soap to bathe with.
"I stink so much I make myself gay."
Still, Epps' rage didn't calm down. He tied Patsy to a tree, stripped off her clothes, and handed Solomon a whip.
Give her the whip! Give it all to him!
Solomon didn't want to, but he had no choice. He started whipping her slowly, but Epps got even more furious and pulled a gun on Solomon's head and screamed, "Hit her until she bleeds, or I'll kill all of you." Forced to obey, Solomon whipped Patsy until her back was raw and bloody. Then Epps grabbed the whip himself and beat her so viciously that she collapsed, unconscious, her body soaked in blood. The cruelty shattered Solomon's spirit completely. That night, heartbroken and hopeless, he destroyed his violin, the one piece of his life that still gave him meaning. Around that time, a new white worker named Bass arrived. He wasn't a slave. He was just working for wages. Bass was kind and fair. One day, while working under the sun with the slaves, Epps offered him some liquor to refresh himself. Bass politely declined, and Epps immediately sensed something different about him, something that didn't sit right in his gut. So Epps looked at Bass and said, "If there's something on your mind, speak up." Bass calmly replied, "You can see the sweat and exhaustion on me, but you ignore the pain of the slaves who've worked for you for years."
They ain't hired help. They're my property.
Bass said, "Just imagine. What if one day the tables turn and you become someone's slave? How would that feel?" Epps laughed it off, saying that could never happen, but Bass insisted, "I'm just asking you to think." Solomon watched this exchange quietly and realized that Bass was a good man. One day, while working, Bass asked him if he had anything he wanted to say.
I'm afraid to tell you.
He'd already been betrayed by another white man, but eventually he opened up. He confessed, "I'm not a slave. I was born a free man, but tricked and kidnapped into this life. If you can send a message to my family, maybe I can be free again." Bass admitted it was dangerous, not just for Solomon, but for himself too, but agreed to help. He said, "If it gives you freedom, I'll be glad I did it." After a few months, Bass left. Then one day, while Solomon was working in the field with the others, a horse-drawn carriage arrived. 2 men stepped out, and one was a sheriff. The officer walked over and asked the group,
"Where's the ball called Platt?"
Solomon stepped forward. The sheriff pointed to the man beside him and asked, "Do you know this gentleman?" When Solomon looked closely, his eyes lit up.
Mr. Parker.
Mr. Parker was the man who owned the store in New York where Solomon and his family used to shop. The sheriff asked, "Is Platt your real name?" Solomon answered, "No, my real name is Solomon Northup." The sheriff questioned him further, and Solomon gave correct answers to every detail. Finally convinced, they realized he was a free man who had been enslaved through deception. Overwhelmed, Solomon embraced Mr. Parker and broke down in tears. As Solomon was about to leave with Mr. Parker, Epps tried to stop him, but Mr. Parker warned, "If you lay a hand on him, I'll ruin you in court." Epps backed off, and Solomon finally walked away from the nightmare. Just then, behind him, Patsy called out his name. He turned, walked back, and embraced her. She broke down in tears, knowing this was the last time they'd ever see each other. Solomon was finally free, but Patsy remained trapped in that living hell, where she was forced to work all day, beaten mercilessly and repeatedly assaulted. Her life would continue in pain while Solomon returned home. When he arrived, everything had changed. His children were grown, his daughter was married, and he had a grandson named Solomon Northup Stanton. Overwhelmed with emotion, he hugged his family tightly